I'm Kuniko from Japan. I'm talk about a little bit about nation branding in Japan. What Japan's good about nation branding is that when Japan need to transform its brand identity, the government always set up platform to new identity to be recognized by foreign audiences. For example, establishment of Japan Foundation in 70s or increased ODA in 80s are some of the example. And when I think about today's topic, innovative nation branding strategy, I thought about Cool Japan. Cool Japan is a nation brand that Japan has been embracing the last 10 years. And originally, Cool Japan is a term describing the social phenomenon of growing popularity of Japanese pop cultures like manga and animations. Maybe some of you heard of like a Pokemon, Hello Kitties, or Evangelion, something like that.
Testing, 1,
and
2.
Japanese government saw this social trend as an opportunity to change Japan's image associated with stagnated economy to the more fun cultural images. And what the government did first is actually created intellectual property policies that stimulate innovations and creativity in Japan, and to protect all those creativities that help to artists promote their creativity in a foreign market. Well, this is not really special, but what makes difference, this Cool Japan make difference from other nation branding is that Japanese government was brave enough to take a risk of using the manga and anime as a nation brand, as a medium to reach out foreign audiences, because those manga and anime, like cartoon and animations, those are not really a mainstream Japanese culture. It's popular, but not mainstream. And it's, of course, kind of the childish. So does the Japanese government really want those images to the world? There was a question, and there had some criticism. But when think about good way, what effective was that through this manga and anime, many foreign audiences, especially young people, become more interested in Japanese culture, started learning Japanese language, history, or even visited to Japan. And this gives them like a fast entry to Japanese culture. And in fact, according to the research by Japan Foundations, numbers of foreigners studying the Japanese language increased 75% from 1998 to 2009. And also creative industry, the revenue increased by 45% from 2004 to 2005. And most importantly, this manga and animations gives you the opportunity to engage with young people who will help and get impact on Japan's international relationship in the future. So what I thought about this topic and Japan's nation branding, well, maybe innovative could be something new, but also the taking a risk would be one of the strategy as well. So this is what I thought about for today.
Hello, my name is EunYoung.
Careful when you hold that you don't press it. There's a key. You look at that. Yeah, but you don't press that thing.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Hello, my name is EunYoung. I'm from South Korea. Actually, I'm not an expert in this field, so I just to prepare this paper. Yeah, maybe you can read. I'm not expert in this field. cultural development field. Okay? Yeah, but I'm expert about Korea, so I can explain. Yeah, I can explain. Yeah, Korean nation branding something. Yeah, I think everybody knows Samsung and Hyundai. Yeah, and UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and Psy, Korean pop star Psy, Gangnam Style. Yeah, these are not today's Korea. And yeah, but you know, 60 years ago, Korea is very, very poor country. Now OECD member country and 50 economy powerful country. So our image was improved, but yeah, that is very, very difficult one to us for 60 years. After Korea was our industry and infrastructure, everything destroyed it. So we just started to a totally new nation. So government made some plan for developing economy and led several companies like Samsung and Hyundai. Samsung and Hyundai at that time very, very small country. But the leader, Lee Byung-chul of Samsung, leader of Hyundai, Samsung, and Chung Ju-young, leader of Hyundai, these people was very, very smart people and very, very brave. So this company was bigger than before. And 4 years later, Samsung and Hyundai were very big, become a big and global company. Since this period, we just second stage. Yeah, I forgot the saying. The first stage is top-down stage. I mean, the government lead this company just following the government strategy. Second period, this very big company, global big company, led our economy, and the government and society just following this big company. So. Brand name of company is able to present Korean image. These global companies led our economy, and government doesn't intervene, just to control the regulation system. So our nation branding is very similar to this. First, government promote our image in the international society. Some diligent Korean people and hardworking Korean people. So therefore, you can believe our product like that. And then second period, just Samsung and Hyundai or some another big company, their product just can prove our product quality. So government just using this image, company image. This is our second period. But nowadays, focusing of government just moved to culture sector. So our nation branding strategy is emphasizing Korean culture. This change make some transition of strategy. From this time, we enter the third stage, that is bottom up. Actually, culture sector is not really big sector. It's very individual and very, how can I say, private sector. So even SM Town and YG Family and some JYP, that is the three big entertainment company in Korea, but not like Samsung and Hyundai. So government empowers private and individual sectors. These private sectors lead the nation branding. Then government just supporting these private sectors. The reason, so I think nowadays the region, Korean pop and Korean film doing is very well in the world. That is something cooperation with the private sector and public sector. So my conclusion is this. if some country want to make a good image, then just to focus in a society. The self-awareness is more important things. Some very good examples, we have some good example countries, but we don't have to just following the example. We must awareness by ourselves about ourselves, and then make a plan, and just the cooperative private sector or public sector like. So Korean also did before. Now we face a very good condition. So I think innovation is not special. Innovation is this, self-awareness and make a plan and cooperation. Yeah, thank you.
All right, hello, my name is Cade, and I'm from the United States. And first off, I'd like to ask all of you, who knows where Iowa is? It's a state. That's actually surprising, 4, 5, 6. But that's where I'm from, and I'm going to talk about the nation branding of my state inside of Iowa. And it's kind of a really unknown, I mean, it's pretty much anyone I meet internationally will not know where my state is, mainly because there's not much there. I mean, it's got good things, but we don't really have any big sports teams or any landmarks, any cool buildings or anything, but we do have a lot to offer. First off, I guess a few things. We have a football team. Yeah. We have college sports, colleges, yeah. But, and so first off, kind of a big fact that no one really knows that John Wayne, probably all heard of him, he's from Iowa. So that's like a big deal for, it's a big deal for the Iowans at least. But, and when I was kind of researching nation branding from Iowa, the government really doesn't really do much. You can't really, we have a lot of like cornfields because our main business is corn and farming and pigs. And that doesn't really bring in a lot of tourists from Europe or from New York or anywhere. So it's kind of a difficult situation for our tourism industry in our state. But kind of what really happened was a few years back, our government kind of encouraged the people of Iowa to go out and pretty much brand our state the way they think it is. And a big part of our state is we're very friendly and, as they call it, Iowa nice. And there's actually one guy from Iowa has started a YouTube channel called, he's the Iowa Nice Guy. And he has like YouTube videos that he pretty much says all these like really cool facts about Iowa. And it's actually gotten like a bunch of hits and everything. So it was kind of the Iowa government pretty much opened up the nation branding job to the people because they couldn't really draw in a lot of tourism just because of our awesome flat landscape and corn. So it's something really interesting. So in his videos, he talks a lot about really big things that happen.
They were like, I don't know, is Belfast, can it attract these tourist numbers? Is it going to be financially viable? Well, it has been an outstanding success, much better than anyone thought. It opened up on the 31st of March, which was 2 days before the 100th anniversary of the maiden voyage. And initially, they were expecting visitor numbers of 425,000 for the rest of the year, for the 9 months. In 6 months, they got 500,000, and by the end of the year, they got 650,000 visitors, including Hillary Clinton, who came when she was visiting Northern Ireland. So it's really been a great success. Continuing with that, the last year was devoted, the whole year was devoted to the Titanic. So they had a Titanic music festival. They also had Titanic, a musical in the Opera House. They had loads of Titanic-themed events. And now, just recently in 2013, the Titanic Centre is just over, not quite a year old. It has the first ever 5-star tourist rating for a tourist attraction in Northern Ireland, and it has won, I think the CEO of it has won Best Business Award as well as Best New Business in the whole of Northern Ireland. So it's really, I think it's really innovative what they've done, using a ship and sort of transforming it into now something that is a great tourist attraction. Instead of an iconic figure, they've used something that everyone knows and has now really become a real reason to visit Belfast. Apparently they've had visitors from 111 countries, which for such a small place as Northern Ireland is no small feat. So I think, yeah, it's what they've done is I'm very proud of it. I've been myself, and it's not like a normal museum. It's very interactive. It is great fun, and I urge you all to go if you're ever in Ireland or in Belfast. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Koen Wellink. I'm from the Netherlands. And as we have already heard from the last speech of Ambassador from Ireland, for small countries, it's a challenge to brand itself outside its own country. But it's very important. And the Netherlands is, of course, also a small country. And I want to talk about an innovative way to, or how the Netherlands brand itself in foreign countries. And the way it does is, last year it called the Mr. Holland campaign, and it was focusing on meeting planners, because the Dutch organization which is responsible for branding the Netherlands is the MBTC, the Netherlands Board of Tourism and Conferences. They are responsible for branding the Netherlands outside or in foreign countries. But they're not only focusing on tourism, but they're also focusing on attracting businesses. And meeting planners are, of course, important people to attract businesses. So what the Mr. Holland campaign was about is to attract or to inform meeting planners in foreign countries, could be in the United States, United Kingdom, or in Asia. Doesn't matter, but what the main purpose was is to attract these meeting planners, and then eventually, by attracting these meeting planners, of course, to have their meetings or their business meetings within the Netherlands. And the way how they done it is using interactive media and social media such as Facebook, Twitter, direct media campaigns. And I think it's innovative because it doesn't have a large amount of cost, because you only use the internet, and you don't have to have a large flyer campaign. So I think that's a big advantage. Of course, what makes this campaign very successful was, of course, there has to be some image of the Netherlands. So, and since meeting planners are, of course, dealing a lot with people, that's why they created Mr. Holland. And Mr. Holland was just a typical Dutch guy, blonde, orange suit, and he was making Holland more tangible and likable for these people. So the result of this campaign was that people came more attracted and more reliable on the Netherlands, and in the end, people became more loyal to the Netherlands because they also had more businesses within the Netherlands, which of course creates a lot of jobs and also increases the amount of money, which of course circulated a lot in the business sector. So this is one of the examples which not only focus on tourism, but also on the business sector, which is very important for the Netherlands.
Thank you, Koen. In the frame of the International Women's Day, I am very honored to be in this discussion panel with most presence of women than men, and to have the opportunity to talk about one of the programs in my country, Mexico. I'm Teresa Palomar, and I would like to start with the definition of two of the dimensions in nation branding, according with Simon Anholt. First is exports. And that means the public image of products and services for each country. The second one is investment and immigration, the power to attract people to live, work, or study in each country. But how to improve the public image of products and services if nobody knows that products and services? On how to attract people to invest in a country if they don't know about the advantage of do business in this country. Sometimes, as my colleague EunYoung said, or do innovation is not enough. Sometimes you need to go back to the basics, and in order to have a good public image, it's necessary to increase our export of quality services and products. And in order to attract foreign direct investment, it's necessary to promote our country and the relationship with other countries. In the case of Mexico, there is a Mexican government institution named ProMexico, created in 2007, responsible for strengthening Mexico's participation in the international economy. The agenda is to promote the attraction of foreign direct investment. To export goods and services, as well as the internationalization of Mexican companies, to contribute to Mexico's economic and social development, and to strengthen the country image as a strategic business partner. I am going to try with the other microphone. Is better? No. It is better? No. Okay, no. Okay, I am going to try to speak. Okay. Okay. In terms of the vehicle, ProMexico has almost 20 different programs to support the exportation and the attraction of foreign investment. These support programs are from travel bags, market research, consulting and planning, implementation and promotion for activities abroad. In these support programs, ProMexico invests between $4,000 and $40,000 million in each one, depending on the program. ProMexico has 52 offices in Mexico and 30 offices in 20 different countries, including 8 in the US, 3 in Canada, 5 in Latin America, 7 in Asia, and 8 in Europe, one of them here in Frankfurt, Germany. The target audience are Mexican companies with export potential, ready to export or already exporting, and also the foreign guests with interest to invest in Mexico or purchasing products and services in Mexico. The ProMexico budget has been increased year to year. In 2012, it was around $20 million, generating in foreign direct investment more than $18 billion in multi-annual projects. For 2013, it's forecasted to have $20 billion of foreign direct investment. Just to mention some of the principal achievements, I want to say that, for example, the German company Siemens will invest $50 million in facilities and the construction of the Research and Development Center for High Voltage Equipment in Querétaro, Mexico. The Spanish energy company Iberdrola invested $365 million to grow in Mexico's booming wine power market. And in terms of exportation, companies assisted by ProMexico achieved export for $70.5 billion during the period of 2008 to 2010. So in terms of return on investment, ProMexico is a success program. On the other hand, as many initiatives related with nation branding, it is difficult to measure the impact that they really have in the nation branding. But I truly believe that with programs like ProMexico, we are in the right path to have more presence around the world and consequently to build a Mexico nation branding. Just to point out, Mexico now is the largest flat screen TV exported in the world, the largest two-doors refrigerator exported, is in the top 3 of the largest silver producer and exported, is the largest beer exporter in the world, competing with Holland, of course, is in the top 5 of vehicle exporter, behind just Germany, Japan, and South Korea, and is the 13th largest economy in the world in nominal terms, and the 11th by purchasing power parity. To conclude, and since we are listening about tourism, I would like to take the opportunity also to invite you to visit Mexico and to have a great experience here, experience full of magic, color, and warmth. Thank you. Gracias.
We can take some questions. You can ask whoever you want to. Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Phác Nguyễn. I'm from Vietnam. First, I want to thank everybody for a very new idea and very new introduction to your country. I want to ask about Japan and South Korean. I know two countries we have so many connection and so many combination between cultural diplomacy. But in last year, I believe we have some conflict between Korean pop and Japanese pop. So how we can deal with this kind of conflicts? Because in the future, when both countries will develop about the music, cultural, economic and everything, we need the increase and agreement between two countries. So what do you think, what we can do to deal with this problem? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that it's also very I think that it's very important. I think that is a very important point. So nowadays, Korean society are also very worried about these things because that is something anti-Korean wave, anti-Korean culture like that. So that the reason is this: Korean government or Korean society just entered your country or some Southeast Asia like that. So that is not good thing. We also already not understand this situation. So we just started about some interaction, really interaction, not into your society, our culture, not enter your society. We also learn about your culture. So we just movement in Korea society. And another thing is we also some scholar field, academic field, so many people, we must studying about this situation because still now we just think, just saw this phenomenon, Korean wave, we think that is good to us, that is the only phenomenon. But we just realize that if we just maintain this situation, that is good to us. So we must study about this, not just a phenomenon, more humanity or some, yeah. So we focus on that. Yeah, maybe can in the future can be changed. Thank you.
This is something we talk about over the courses. And it is true that Japan and South Korea, or even Japan and China, has some problem over the disputed island and other issues, basically rooted in our past history. But in the individual level, when we talk with my colleague EunYoung or other friends from Korea or China, individual level, we are very much like each other and very much like each other's culture. Korean pop culture is very popular in Japan. What we need always to say is, like last summer when the accident happened, what people said, well, it is part of political issues. The culture, politics is different. And I hope that our individual level relationship will continue. People like each other and try to understand each other. And that will encourage politicians and more high-level conversation to solve our deeply rooted past problems. Thank you.
Any more questions?
you. Nicola Spaffer-Fury from Earth Focus Foundation. I'm very interested to hear all of you. You are practically all talk about finance, money, and profits to brand your countries and your nations. Not very much culture, nothing about sustainable development or the environment, and how you would be looking at your country and promoting your country to the world as really taking care of our planet.
I guess I can answer for I was talking about my state, Iowa, but for Iowa, I guess we do our main promotions are culture. We have a lot of the farming culture and like the traditional like American pioneer, that kind of thing. But we also have some of the biggest wind farms in the U.S. in Iowa, so we're actually pretty big on like clean energy. And I kind of forgot to mention one thing at the end of my little talk, but the result of all like this kind of promotion, like the people, our capital city, Des Moines, is one of the like top new cities for entrepreneurs. So we're bringing a lot of people coming in and moving to our city, and also our college universities are all like really high in attendance or increasing. So we're doing a lot better there. But yeah, I guess that's for Iowa.
I can just speak a little bit more about maybe the whole island of Ireland. You do know it is known for being green, and they have actually started to capitalize on this. They've just started a new promotion, I think it's called Eat Green, which is a lot of the food that then they are exporting. And within the island of Ireland is they're looking at it, really trying to make it, I don't think it's organic, all of it yet, but that is the eventual goal. And they're really promoting this overseas as a sort of healthy, natural Irish food, which maybe you wouldn't associate with Ireland certainly 30 years ago. And apart from, including going off from that, Ireland also has, like Iowa, huge wind farms. I think it's got one of the biggest wind farms in Europe. And I know in Belfast as well, I'm not sure if it's in practice yet, but they were certainly building, I think it's sea power, where they used, or tidal power, where they use the incoming tidal waves and stuff to generate electricity. So I think definitely Ireland is taking small steps, but it's going in the right direction for ecotourism. And as well with the cultural aspect, I think certainly with Belfast, with its history, I think the Titanic is a perfect example of where they have used the history and they have used its culture, but and promoted it in a very positive way. And then they're not ignoring what happened in the past, but they're more sort of, I guess, presenting their best side with what happened. I think that is very admirable.
I think you're absolutely right about my example. That was totally focused on business and indeed money. But this is a small example. But I think the Netherlands should more focus also on green promotion and that. But they are more branding in a traditional way, and also they have traditional purposes as well. On the other hand, not directly done by the state, but the Netherlands is also, of course, good at water engineering throughout the world. It helps countries, poor countries, to protect themselves against water or problems related to water. So that's another example. I think the Netherlands brands itself positively outside its borders. So
we have one more question at the front.
As Koen said, I totally agree also with your point. I think it's very difficult to talk in 5 minutes about all the initiatives that our country has. I think I choose this project because I think it's very interesting. But yes, we are doing a lot of things also in terms of sustainability, and I think a lot of the projects that this program has is also related with work or invest in our country, but in terms of respect the nature, respect all the resources that we have, and to maintain a good relationship or a good balance between investments and nature. So I would like to have more time to talk about other initiatives, but we could talk later. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you, presenters. for your magnificent presentation. From the presentation of the Iowan, it's important to note that branding is not necessarily, doesn't necessarily have to be national. You can even start by branding yourself as a person, an individual, an identity unto yourself, as a race, as a state, and as a nation. So thanks for that presentation. Brief, but it's enlightening. Now, I don't think any kind of branding can succeed in the international arena to bring in tourists or to bring in international presence to improve on the wealth and financial base of a nation or economy of a nation without talking about security. Do you think among you, I know sometimes press often gives a bad image of some countries, but some countries where many of you, where many of us come, press gives a bad image. You're almost, for instance, if you are going into looking at Mexico, it's almost like everybody, there's a drug war all over, bombs are exploding. You know, the press continues to give a bad image of some countries. And part of the branding should also be to negate or to project a better image of your country vis-a-vis what the press continues to say. In the United States, each time you tune to the news, they're speaking about Mexico war, drug war, and all the rest of them. So I strongly believe, or do you think part of the national branding of Mexico is not all about the pro-Mexico or those who are, encouraging commerce, but also to talk about security in these places, and Korea too. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you for your question. I was expecting this question. Of course, I know that as many other countries, we have problems in Mexico, and everybody talks about that problems, and I prefer to focus on the positive side of my country and the positive things that we could do for my country in order to overcome that conditions. I think that one of the reasons that we are having that problems is because poverty. And if we don't have more investment in our country, and if we don't have more presence of our people and our products abroad, it's more difficult to overcome that situation. And I think now that I am living, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry to say it, but while talking about this, it's important to also speak about, encourage people by saying it is safe. Whether safe or not, that there is an attempt to make it safe. Because if you continue to just wish foreign investors to come and nobody will want to take a lot of risk unless you say that Mexico is getting safer. These are the things we are doing in order to make it safe. It's part of the national branding. That's all my contribution.
Yes, of course. But I think it is difficult to say, well, I am going to do something until all the problems are solved. I prefer to think that it's better to work in parallel efforts to do something about my country and about other countries. I mean, we are not the only country who is facing this kind of problem. So I know that for people who hasn't visited my country, it could be seen that it's a dangerous country, and they would be in a not safe condition. But a lot of things are happening around the world. Mexico is not the only country when you could find violence or to feel insecure. I just met a guy two weeks ago who was attacked here in Berlin. So I think we need to be proactive and to be propositive that we are going to discover another aspect of the country. And now that I am living abroad of my country, I could see in a better perspective what all the problems that we are facing and all the things, all the riches that we have compared with other countries. So I think I invite you seriously to go to Mexico, and I promise that you will be safe. Okay, it's a deal.
I would just like to add a little bit. I'm sure maybe if you're European or even from abroad, the only reason you'll have heard of Northern Ireland is in the press, the negative press, the tourism and things like that. And although it's gotten better for many years, I mean, anywhere I would go, people would ask me, you're from Northern Ireland, what about the bombs? Is it dangerous? And it is very, very difficult to overcome this negative image that people have in their heads. I'm sure it's happening in Mexico now. And I think one of the most important things is that you do have to be honest, especially that's what we're doing now in Northern Ireland, saying, yes, this happened, it's part of our history. They don't want to forget it, but they do have to sort of contextualize it. That's not who they are anymore. We're trying to move forward. And unfortunately, there have been setbacks. Very recently, we've been in the press again. There have been protests over the flag. And all you need is one bad article, and everyone remembers the bad article, and no one remembers all the good work that's been going on. So I think very much with Mexico as well, it is an uphill struggle. It is very much easier to remember the negative rather than think about the positive. But definitely, I think use of honesty and then contextualizing what happens, I think is definitely a good way forward. And of course, Northern Ireland is now very safe. There's absolutely no problems at all.
I think the security problem is something related to North Korea in South Korea case. So, yeah, we know just something scary about North Korea. So but if I stayed in Korea, in the society, we really don't scare about North Korea because this situation for 6 years, so we really don't scare about North Korea. So, for example, several weeks ago, North Korea nuclear test, at that time, I'm here. So I really worry about the South Korea situation. So I called my mother, but my mother said to me, no problem. This is every time. So yeah, in Korean people, we feel that it's not scary thing, that it's no problem. But I understand that our society people, the international people, very worried about that or something, go visit Korea at that time, so a little scary thing. So yeah, I totally agree with you. We must solve these problems. And nation branding, at that time, we must consider this security problem or something. Yeah, I totally.